again. Today I would like to show you how to trim a foot on a bowl, and I'm going to be doing a foot on a bowl similar to this. The bowls aren't identical, but the purpose of a foot, of course, is to lift the bowl up off the table. The foot is placed in a very strategic spot. The foot is always placed at the angle change that occurs on the interior of a pot. So where the angle transitions from horizontal and it starts to become vertical, that's where the placement of the foot will go. Okay, so this one is right at that transition spot. Now, what I'm going to be trimming on today is a new tool that I have here. I have actually had several of these in the past at school, and I just love them. This is called a sticky bat. And the first thing that I did for the sticky bat was I attached it to the wheel on my bat pins. So you can see that there are bat pins that are closer together and ones that are farther apart. Well, the ones on my wheel are farther apart, so I'm going to line that up and put that on. And then the next thing that I did after I had that attached is I just took a Sharpie marker and I came in here and I just drew on some lines holding the marker steady. I drew on some lines that will help me to center my pieces. The sticky bat surface is a wonderful surface, and with a few lines it helps you to get your things centered rather rapidly. Now, the cool thing about the sticky bat surface is it is extremely grippy. Well, you might know that from its name. It's calling it a sticky bat. So as I put my hand on here, it's actually quite difficult to kind of move around. So as I put a leather hard pot on here upside down and I go to push it, it really doesn't want to move. Now, that being said, sticky bats are best for things, in my opinion, that are wider than they are tall. I would never put a tall vase form on here because it's only being held by the very bottom rim. So I do like pieces that are wider than they are tall for trimming on a sticky bat. Plates are great. Bowls are great. Some cups, when the cups get really tall, I get a little nervous about trimming them on the sticky bat. But there are some rules of thumb that you can use this very successfully. First of all, after you've drawn your lines, just kind of center it up as best you can by eye, and then check it for center. And this, to me, is just, it's such a wonderful tool to use when centering. It just makes it so much faster. You're not like pushing it all around your bat trying to put your lugs on in a particular place. There are a couple tools that I just absolutely adore for trimming, and the sticky bat is one of them, along with the Giffen grip, which I show in some other videos. So the rule of thumb for trimming is we want to establish where the exterior of the foot is going to be. And honestly, I should have done that, so I'm going to pick this up to just show you. So on the interior, okay, where it transitions from bottom to side, it's going to be right around here. Okay, so as you see these two little marks, that would indicate the exterior of my foot ring. Okay, so in other words, that's going to be like this, the outside of the foot ring right here. So the first cut that I always make when I'm trimming is I'm going to cut the exterior of the foot, and then I'm going to trim away the outside. And then after I get that clean, then I come in here and I trim the interior of the foot and trim the inside. Now, the key is to always take your tool and you're going to go straight down from the top when you do the outside of the foot. You're not going to go in from the outside. If you go in from the outside, you're going to have a hard time keeping it even. So I'm not going to go at it like this. I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to establish my line on top. And note that I'm kind of cutting with the corner of this. And this trim tool, by the way, is just a basic Kemper. I believe it's a Kemper Tools KSP4. I like this a lot for trimming, but I do have some other cool kind of specialty tools that I use from time to time. Let's talk about hand position. You can see that my left hand is positioned on the bottom of the pot. Now that does two things. Number one, it's holding down the pot. So if I'm pushing on it and the pot starts to move, my left hand is holding it down so it doesn't fly off. The second thing, though, that my left hand there does is it helps to stabilize my right hand. So let me just speed this up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to position my right hand touching the left hand. So my left hand thumb is touching my right hand thumb, and then my tool that I'm holding in the right hand is actually touching my index finger on my left. That really helps to keep it stable. My biggest issue when I was a beginner was trying to keep my hands steady, and you know, you have to kind of find what feels most comfortable to you, but this to me helps tremendously. Two hands together, so I'm very stable and my elbows are locked and everything. Now I'm going to just trim away some of this excess here on the outside. One of the key things about trimming is you want the contour of the inside and the outside to reflect each other. So where it has a curve on the outside, it should also have a curve on the inside. You want those curves to match, because if they're not matching, then you're going to have a wall that is uneven in thickness. It might go thick to thin. So we want to just, I'm going to turn my wheel on. Sorry, I know that's a little noisy. Okay, so I'm going to kind of clean up the outside of the foot. Now let's take a little bit more off out here, because the base of my wall was thicker and I don't want to leave it that thick. And you can see that my clay is leather hard. It's coming off in little strips. It actually might be on the sticky side of leather hard, but it still is trimmable for me. Okay, now when I actually trim the foot itself, I consciously think about how I'm going to glaze this quite often. So I often give it just ever so slight of an undercut up here, because I like to be able to hold my foot when I glaze my pot. So sometimes the only thing that I'm holding is the foot of the pot, especially if I'm going to dip a rim or something like that. All right. I knew that the base of the wall was just a little bit thicker, so I wanted to take off enough down there. I've got some stuck pieces there. Okay, so now that I have the exterior of the foot defined, okay, I can move to the inside, but I do want to just point out I have an awful lot of tool marks here, where if I stop it you might be able to see it better. I have some tool marks. So what I usually like to do is I like to come in here with a rib, and I like to smooth these out. Now I'm going to show you my favorite ribs. My favorite manufacturer of ribs are the Cheryl Mud Tool ribs. I just love these. They last forever if you don't abuse them. So like the edges of these do not dry and crack like a traditional rubber rib does. I think that they may be made out of silicone, but I'm not sure. They just refer to it in their catalog or on the web as a polymer rib. So they have different densities, like the red is the super flexible, yellow is the next, it's just got a little bit more stiffness, and then I know there's I think there's a blue one that's really hard. I think there's a green one as well that's also stiffer. When I'm trimming though, I just limit myself to the more flexible ones. And then they also have stainless steel scrapers, which are just awesome as well. I'm just going to use the red rib though, because all I want to do is tidy up the tool marks, and my clay is soft enough that if I just take the red rib and just kind of gently compress on there, I can get rid of those tool marks. And on the outside of the foot, I'm just using my finger. Now, to do the inside of the foot, we also have to go straight down from the top. And this is the biggest reason that on the exterior of the foot you have to go straight down. If on the exterior of the foot you didn't go straight down and like you came in from the outside, your foot will probably be uneven. So to get an even foot, to get the inside and the outside parallel, you will be taking the tool and going straight down. Okay, now once you kind of define the interior of the foot, now I'm going to make the inside carved away again, so it's a reflection of what's happening on the interior of the pot. The goal with trimming is I want the walls to be an even, consistent thickness. If I have walls that are thin and then get very thick down near the base, I'm not going to have a consistent drying. I'm going to have a piece that is drying quicker at the top, slower at the bottom, might result in cracking or warping. So even thickness is always safest. Alright, so I'm just tidying up the inside. So the depth of the foot is the same as the depth on the outside, and because the very bottom of my bowl is fairly flat, it's not terribly rounded right at the very base, it's only arched ever so slightly. That's a pretty flat foot. Now the last thing that I like to do that I was just doing without mentioning is I do like to take a finger and just compress on the base or the bottom of the foot ring. That compression will push all the grog back up in there. It makes it super smooth, so when you know, sit it on a table someday, hopefully you won't have any scratching. Now, the final thing that I need to do is I need to feel it. Not only visually should you inspect it, but you should feel it with your fingers. If you feel anything that feels slightly amiss, and you know what, there is one thing right here. I have a little bit of a ridge. I'd like to take that ridge off just a little bit more. I never noticed it when it was flipped. That's the only place that I noticed that it felt a little bit thicker, and that is right here. So I just need to ease this transition. There we go. And then try that rib. There we go. And now I have a trimmed pot on the CI sticky bat. And the one thing about the sticky bats, I don't think I said already, but you have to be careful with cleaning and storage of these, because the sticky bat surface is able to be damaged. So when you clean it just with water. You could use just a very mild hand soap if you need to, and I just use my fingers. And then when I store it, I make sure that I store it in a place where I don't have things sitting on top. I have its own special little spot. I don't store it with the rest of my bat, and I'll explain why. So if you just left, hypothetically, if you left things sitting around on the bat, okay, for an extended period of time, you would find that you would start to get perhaps an indentation where those objects were. So that's why you don't want to have anything sitting on it, okay? It's a great product though, highly recommend it. If you look below in the comments on the video, I will give you the website and information on how you can purchase these. Great, again, for low objects that are a little wider than they are tall. Happy trimming!